What we're talking about this morning is obedience. Obedience as one of God's love languages. Would you please have a seat? Sorry, we need to read the scripture. If you can stand right back up. Oh no. I could feel this side of the room like, I don't think we should sit down. I'm like, all right, you're right. You're right. You guys are great sports. Okay, I get excited. So here's Matthew 4, 18 to 22. We read together. As he walked by the Sea of Galilee, he saw two brothers, Simon, who is called Peter, and Andrew, his brother, casting a net into the sea. They were fishers. And he said to them, "Follow me, and I will make you fishers of people." Immediately, they left their nets and followed him. As he went from there, he saw two other brothers, James, the son of Zebedee, and his brother John, in the boat with their father, Zebedee, mending their nets. And he called to them. Immediately, they left the boat and their father and followed him. These are the very words of God. You may be seated. So I grew up listening to this story, and it's a beautiful story, and I remember all the things that we did when we were kids and all the little projects that we had, and it's great. And one of the things that I remember hearing about this story very clearly was, this is the story of how we respond when God calls us. That's the power of this, that these guys heard Jesus and they followed him. And that is such a powerful thing. And I loved that. But as I grew up, I started to kind of see that there was this really big missing piece in this story. Like, why in the world would these guys just literally, it says immediately, drop everything and go to follow him? Like, he was already a rising rabbi who had done different kinds of things that have been transformational in the community around him, but he is, at the very least, people aren't sure the fullness of who he is. Very powerful, but also kind of scary. And so all four of these guys who were doing work, two of them with their dad, just literally leave everything and go follow him. And obedience feels like a very strong and powerful thing to do, although it's funny. You ever notice, while I do believe that it is one of God's love languages, I also know us because I am like you, right? And here's this. If I say to you this, obey, how do you feel? I know. The really funny laugh in the front was like this. Yeah, I know, right? We all feel that way. We're a country born in revolt. We're a state born in revolt. We are people that come to the world with, if you tell me what to do, I'm immediately going to push back on you. And it's also a little bit human just to say, hey, who are you to tell me? And what do you mean? Like, I can work this out. This is my life, right? We have a natural inclination to say, like, obedience, and also the little thing that I know for sure, because the little dark spirit of things flows around in all of our minds a little bit and says, when we hear God say obey, we say, well, the church sure has blown that. I'm not really sure obedience is true. What is this, a cult? Like all the things that come to your mind about obedience, all legit. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about obeying love, the difficulty and profound power of that. It's very different. So what I want you to do, and I want all of us to do, because in the same way, is to recognize that we have that pushback. And that's maybe some healthy parts of that. But also to recognize that if it's God that is inviting us to do something, then there is something more more profound, more powerful, more hopeful. And maybe, if we take steps toward that kind of love language, well, imagine what the world would be like if the church decided to obey the words of God. Imagine what our neighborhood, or our city, our families would be like if we decided to obey what God has asked. To be loving, to love all, right? It's hard, but it's true. So this obedience picture, I know that we're working on it, me too. But there's a great power in this story and a wonder in its potential. but I need to take you to the first century for just a few minutes, right in along the side of the Sea of Galilee, and talk and hear Jesus and his community in order to understand this story and its profound invitation. I learned this from a gentleman named Ray Vanderland, and one of my very favorite places to teach this is along the actual side of the Sea of Galilee, as people are walking all around, and I get to invite folks into this, I think, profound shaping concept. Here it is. When we go back into that first century, the first thing we have to do is figure out what are the shaping things of the culture. And one of them, school, right? School shapes us all. Imagine how school continues to shape you in good and bad ways over time. But the school, the educational world there was really specific. In fact, this is how it would work. When you were 5 years old, you went to school. And around 5 to 10, you went to a school called Bet Shemesh. And what you would do as a student is that you would learn the Torah, the first 5 books of the scripture: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. And you would memorize them, you would learn numbers through them, all kinds of things. That's Bet Shemesh, 5 to 10. It's a powerful thing, and really you're just answering one question. And the question is this: what did God say? That's basically your job. What did God say? These are God's words. That was the education. Second half, after that, from 10 to about 14 years old, is you got this idea of Bet Talmud. Bet Talmud is the teachings. Now, I need to tell you one thing, and that is that at 10 years old, they would test you, and if you were not an excellent student, far exceeding expectations, you were not moving on to Bet Talmud. You were done with your education at 10, and you would go home and learn the family trade. Does that make sense? Dad was a fisherman, you're a fisherman. Dad's a carpenter, you're a carpenter. Whatever it is, that's what you would learn. So basically, for the record, at 10, I'm going to learn real estate. That's what's happening in my life. When I think about it, because at 10, I'm like, do I really have to go to school? I really do not want to go to school, right? This is my life. And I know all of you are like, at 10, I would totally go to Bet. I know who you are, it's fine, right? But Bet Talmud is the next thing. And what you would learn is you would learn all of the teachings that have been taught. And the question that you would be asking instead of what did God say is what did God mean, right? That's the second part. Now, the ideal here is if you get all the way through education, there is a goal. And that goal is the ultimate goal. And it's going to sound a little wild to us, but every single kid wanted to have this one position, this one role, this one service place, whatever it would be. And that is, does anybody know what the ultimate in the community is if you would, or your kid would become a rabbi. Yeah. Become a rabbi, you are like, that's the thing. So they'd cut them off at 10, sorry, go fish. Cut them off at about 14, sorry, go fish. But if you got past that, now you're in the elite of the elite, and it's called Bet Midrash, and now you're learning how to actually interpret that stuff yourself, and it's a really big deal, and you're moving along. And then one day, you would go, and there would be this rabbi, and he would be like this borderline hero freak. I mean, it's a big thing, right? And so you would go, and you would hopefully be able to get to sit under him as a disciple. And then there was something really specifically different. In our world, in the Western world, a teacher teaches content, right? What I am as a teacher is I want you to learn the thing that I am required of wanting to teach you, and then I'm going to push you on to the next teacher, and so on and so on. So it's about learning the content. I want to know, can you learn this content? Rabbi, totally different. Stay with me. I know it's a lot of detail. The rabbi is totally different. The rabbi doesn't, can you learn the content? The rabbi is a very different thing. The rabbi says this: can you become who I am? That's a very different space. Not can you just learn stuff, but can you become me? Which sounds weird to us in our culture. But in their culture, that's the thing. Maybe like an apprentice, or maybe if we have a family business, the idea that your children could become you. Could they actually take over the family business? It's a little bit more like that, right? So the rabbi is asking that kind of question. Totally different. So most kids would have this. They would go sit under a rabbi. That rabbi would watch them do everything. And by the way, in order to actually follow a rabbi, if the rabbi picks up a rock, you pick up a rock. If he breaks off a piece of wheat, you break off a piece of wheat. You do every single thing that rabbi does because you aren't trying to learn what he is trying to teach you. You're trying to become who he is. Why did he pick up the rock? Why did he break off the wheat? Why does he walk this way? This is weird. In Israel today, you can still see some of this tradition that exists. When the rabbis will come out of the restroom, there is a prayer for gratefulness, and they will all pray it. The rabbi, and all of them, bang, 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 and then they go. Every single thing. It's wild to watch, but it's powerful, right? Now, the thing with it is, the rabbi, when he's looking at that student, he's, of course, not only saying, can they understand the content, he has to make that decision. Can this person become me? Big deal. So now let's walk a little bit, just for a second, into the story we started with. And just knowing that little piece. Well, there's one other thing I need to tell you. It's this, really important. When a rabbi does say yes to a student, which is really, really rare. Think like every kid that wants to play in the NBA and how many that actually do, okay? That kind of stuff. I decided against it. The running and dribbling was tough. But there is this moment. Well, let me ask you it this way. How many of you seen somebody propose to somebody else? Like in public, yeah. Like when somebody goes down on a knee and they say, will you marry me? Like it's a profound cultural thing we can see. It's really beautiful, right? That same power comes with a particular phrase that the rabbi would say to a student that he would accept to become one of his disciples. And that phrase is lech acharai. Lech acharai. Can you say it? Say lech acharai. Perfect. You know what the translation for lech acharai is? It's this. Come, follow me. Jesus is walking along the side of the Sea of Galilee and he sees two brothers fishing and he looks out across the water and he says to Simon, known as Peter, and Andrew, his brother, he says, lech acharai, come, follow me. He calls them as a rabbi calls a student up out of the water. Of course they immediately follow him. They are blown away at his words. He walks a little while longer and he sees the two boys of Zebedee and he calls those boys out of the water and of course they immediately, he says, lech acharai, come follow me. I believe you can become me. Jesus, who had done miracles, who was transforming the way people were thinking about their faith, walking along the Sea of Galilee. And you know what Zebedee did? I used to think that Zebedee was pretty agitated and his sons were leaving him with all the work. I promise you, Zebedee fell on his knees and wept with joy and tried to figure out how quickly he could pick all those nets up to run home to their mother and say, can you believe it? The rabbi called our boys. These are transformative things. When I learned that, it blew my mind. And then it rolled into me in a way I had not thought of. Now, what you might not know about me is, well, you probably do by now, I wasn't always the best student. I wasn't the best basketball player. I wasn't always the top of everything, and so very often I was the kid that was sent home. You're not quite good enough. You don't have what it takes. You're not handsome enough, smart enough, strong enough, capable enough. You're not enough. Go home, kind of figure it out. And here's something that maybe you've already realized that I did when I was hearing this, staying on side of the Sea of Galilee. What were all four of those boys doing when Jesus called them? All four. They were fishing. Why were they fishing? Because they had been told they were not good enough. Jesus does something uniquely powerful and different. And he shows up and he says, you ever feel like you aren't good enough? You ever feel like you're not smart enough, capable enough, a part of the right group, whatever it is, you've been put away, set aside, told you're not good, whatever it might be. You know what? Jesus comes along and he says, I see you. Lechakurai, come after me, follow me. I choose you. Jesus actually says, you didn't choose me. I chose you. This is what he meant. It's incredibly powerful. Let's push that a little bit. If God chooses you, even though you've never been chosen, told whatever, like me, now we're actually following the rabbi. But what does that mean? That's when things get crazy. Just follow out what he's doing. Do you know what it means for Jesus to say to you and to me, Lech Akarai, follow me? You know what he has to believe? He has to believe that you and I can become like him. Not know what he knows, but become like who he is. He says, you will do greater things than these. He says, I chose you. You did not choose me. He said, I believe in you before you even know how to believe in me. That is a transformative reality. Spend all of our time trying to figure out how to convince each other how to believe in Jesus and have not one time realized that Jesus has been believing in us the whole time. Whatever it is you doubt yourself about in the hope of the world and the dreams of God, the things that you know you're called to, who you know you're supposed to be, the moment that you say, but I could never do it, well, it doesn't really matter what you believe. It's his belief in you that rises all boats, gives all hope. This is the profound power of grace and joy. The smallest version is when you see it like a parent. And your kids start saying, but I can't, and I don't know how. And you're looking at them and you're like, but I've known you since you were a day old, and I know you are more capable than you have any idea. You are a dreamer and a fighter and a person that hopes, and I'm gonna believe it until you do. And Jesus says the same thing. I'm gonna believe it until you do. And that's why, in the fullness of hope, he deserves all of our worship and all of our joy. But imagine a world in which a generation of people helped a whole set of kids know that Jesus believed in them, that calls them, knows them, loves them. That's what blows my mind and rattles my heart. It turns out that what God does is the idea of believing in the right way so that I might be saved is a powerful reality, but actually being called by the rabbi himself to become like him in this world transforms my identity and my path, my hope, and my capacity to do it. Lechakurai. Lechakurai. Will you pray with me? Father, help us to become like you in this world. You are our resurrected living guide. The resurrection power is within us because you say it is. And you are our greatest example. Let us imagine your dreams and your hopes and your world. Let us follow you with an obedient heart so that the world may know. In Jesus' holy and precious name, amen.